Okay, welcome back. This is part two to the video. I haven't come up with the title uh, for yet, but we are dealing with the urge, the grand urge, and we were just in closing talking about the demiurge and the role the demiurge plays, the soldiers to the commander in chief, the grand urge. We define the grand urge as an entity, a spiritual entity that has forced upon you through injecting you or you voluntarily, however, we enter into these physical bodies, imposing upon us five tools: the eyes for seeing, the nose for smelling, the mouth and tongue for tasting, the skin and the hands and the nerves for feeling. Through these functions, we will interact and acknowledge the urge or we die. The demiurge, the soldiers, make sure that you do as the grand urge desires. Have we been set up? Let's talk a little bit more about our fabulous five senses, our fabulous five tools that permit the five senses. The eyes for seeing, the trouble that we have gotten into based on what we see, something that we find beautiful, enticing even, or our ears to hear. Oh, the trouble they have gotten us in, or the smell of something through our nose, Ooh, the trouble we've gotten ourselves in. Or how about our mouths and tongues, the taste of something, the trouble we've gotten ourselves in. And finally, to feel your skin, your nerves, your hands. The trouble we have gotten ourselves in. Have we been set up? Because through these five functions, we are allured into partaking into our life activities. We are introduced to our life activities. And once we partake in these life activities, we make these choices, our selections. The demiurge patrols our activities and behaviors by pressing us into obsessive, compulsive behaviors. At this point in time in the video, as I explained in the first part, this is a complicated subject. Nevertheless, I'm going to tackle it, even though I've been procrastinating for weeks. And as I start making a video, I've made it before, so many things would come up. It's almost if the urge, or something directly associated with it doesn't want this message out. But I'm going to persevere and move forward because it's important for us to understand our relationship with the spiritual world. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to deal with one of the grand urges requirements, and it's for us all to partake in the ego, the individual self, self-perseverance. The ego demands self-perseverance through, in this world, what do we need to persevere? Money, Money brings control and power. Where there is power, there is ultimately corruption. Let's see how I can move this here forward. Again, the subject is complicated. Maybe, just maybe, I can move forward like this. Take any individual that is one with the grand urges, requirement, or demand for ego. Remember, I gave a chart, a scale for the ego from 1 to 100. 100 being someone who is totally ego-driven, narcissistic. 1 being a more humble individual. But we all going to interact through that ego. Well, we're talking about a person now. Envision an individual with an ego of 100. We are dealing with a egotistical, narcissistic, psychotic individual. The state to becoming psychotic and even insane is a slow progress is achieved through slow progress, through life experiences. When this individual was born into this world, for whatever reason, they were prone to fulfill the demands of the ego, self-perseverance. So they moved forward in life, and all that they engaged, all that they experienced, they moved forward in those things. Those things what? Those things that they experience. Those people that they interacted with, whatever the case may be, whatever the life experience was or is for this particular type of individual. Move to satisfy the natural urge, the ego, or they would die. The first thing they needed was to forcefully make sure they successfully survived any life experience that they had to satisfy the ego. So this created in them a state of mind that says, by any means necessary. They move forward, they persevere. By any means necessary, they survive. In this world, what assists us in prolonging life is to have resources readily available. So that particular person, type of person, moves forward to accumulate as many resources, money, as they can to help them gain a sense of security, stability, to make sure or to try to increasingly guarantee their survival. The demand of the ego. a natural function in which the grand urge requires you to fulfill or you die. This can suggest that a person such as this has been under constant, continuous threats upon their life, throughout their life, as their life progresses. Or at least they sense that they would die if they did not achieve what was necessary for them to have a sense of security and stability. They move forward, they persevere, they survive. They have the money, the resources. The ego demands more and more. The ego is never fulfilled. It's never full. And the grand urge is never full. I don't want to leave this out. This is like a little side note, star here. And then I'm going to go back to talking about that particular person that is ego-driven or narcissistic. But before we proceed, the grand urge is never full. It's never satisfied. Why is that? Why is that? Is it because it is a spiritual being? It is immortal? Immortal? Immortal. Is the reason that we die because we are mortal? No. Well, we are immortal. Sorry. The grand urge is mortal. We are mortal, so we can die. We do die. Death is inevitable. The grand urge is immortal. It will not die. It cannot be full. It cannot be satisfied. It just continues to be consuming, demanding more and more from the mortal. I'm saying that in backwards, I think. Immortal. Well, you know what I mean. One lives forever and one dies. Yeah. Brain freeze. Anyway, if I have erred, I'm sure you'll let me know. Just let me know. Because I got a brain freeze and I can't figure it out. So, it's right below so I can get my mind together. But you understand that one lives forever, eternally, and one dies. Me, you, each individual in humanity. Why do we die? If you pay attention, there's something that exists in all that I've said. And it is that the demi-urge, as well as the urge, the grand urge, continues consistently, obsessively even, to put the pressure on us to partake in certain activities. We're impaled, literally. We're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. If we don't, we can extend our lives. Just like holding on when you got to do a number one, just holding on, you know. But eventually, you got to go. But if we do as the urge demands, then we too are consumers that consume to satisfy the urge. But we are in this physical clay vessel. So all the consuming that we do to satisfy the urge destroys us. That's the note I wanted to make right there. And it hastens us to the inevitable, which is death. End of side note. Now back to that narcissistic, psychopath, insane individual that gradually matures into that state throughout the course of their life, through their life experiences. They have the resources. They are trying to guarantee that they survive and all that represents them. They are satisfying or feeding the ego, which is an urge. You fulfill the urge or you die. After that person has gotten the resources and the money, they usually end up with power and the ability to control or influence. Power. Power is another commodity that satisfies the ego, because what? You have the power to manipulate or control others or circumstances or situations that in your favor, in that particular person, that narcissistic person we're talking about, that psychopath, that insane person, has the power to manipulate or control others and experiences in their favor to further guarantee their survival. They satisfy the ego. The ego's requirement is that you survive, that you make sure you stay alive. And the ego feeds the grand urge. All along, we have the demiurge active in this individual's life, as it is in all others' life, yours, mine, every individual in humanity. The demiurge puts the pressure on even this particular type of person, compelling them to move forward and perform the activities required to ensure and guarantee their survival. Remember, early on, this person learned by any means necessary, or I die. Now that this person has the power of the magician, the ultimate magician, what would be their next challenge? Remember, the urge is never full. It's immortal. It's never full. And if we don't do what the urge demands or requires, we die. The urge wants to be fed. What does a person a narcissistic, ego-driven, sociopath feed the urge at this level. This person has gained money and resources, power, control, manipulation over what? Others. So is it possible that this insane character has to feed the others to the urge to satisfy it, or they die? Death is inevitable. We damned if we do, and we damned if we don't. The ego makes us fragile. If they don't, then their image of a hard-nosed businessman, example, begins to decline. They begin to die. They begin to wither. They lost that something. Remember, for them, it's by any means necessary. This particular person, type of person, never had the option, nor does not have the option to do it any other way than by any means necessary. If they fail to satisfy the urge by any means necessary, they begin to die. They begin to wither. Of course, in their case, it is through their reputation, loss of power, diminishing resources. They slowly wither. Damned if you do. So they continue to move forward to satisfy the demands of the urge. The urge is never full. So they're at a point now where they control over people, others. The urge still wants to be satisfied. So this particular type of person I've talked about has no choice but to feed the others to the urge, or they themselves will die. However, I repeat, we damned if we do and we damned if we don't. They too still will face their end. Because once that particular type of person has felt all others that they have control over to the urge, there's nothing left to feed the urge. Thank you for entertaining me, Nancy, here at Can Angels Fly. Until next time, bye.